Did you know in the books, the hound looks way more terrifying? The burnt side of his face is gaunt like a skull, with sharp cheekbones and a heavy brow. Slick black flesh is pocked with craters and deep cracks that ooze red and wet. His ear is only a hole with a stump, and a hint of bone shows on his jaw. The scars extend down to his throat. There is a twisted mass of scars around his eye, which is still good, not harmed by the fire, but he has no lips on that side. Sandor brushes his hair so that it covers his burnt side, since no hair grows there. Sandor speaks in a rough, rasping voice and has a laugh like the snarling of dogs in a pit. The burnt corner of his mouth twitches when he speaks. Sandor Clegane is still believed to be dead, but like the show, it is hinted that he has forsaken his identity as the Hound to live a peaceful life on the quiet isle where Brienne encounters his horse, Stranger. Even though the show brought him back to have a final showdown with his brother in the final episode, Clegane Bowl was strangely disappointing and lacked any meaningful resolution, with both of them just dying at the end of it. And it's not like the Hound was the only one who could kill Gregor, because Daenerys' dragonfire was probably going to take care of him. Meanwhile, Sandor's book ending of a quiet and peaceful ending might actually be more in line with the message of A Song of Ice and Fire, and a better ending for such a tragic hero. The reason why the Hound beat Beric Dondarrion is because even though a flaming sword is definitely intimidating, the longer the fight goes on, like we saw in the TV series, the weaker the sword becomes. This is because steel is not fireproof and metal softens as it warms up, which eventually makes it weak enough for the Hound to cut right through it. Not only that, but despite his fear of fire, the Hound is one of Westeros' best fighters, whereas Beric is only a great knight and tawny lance. But that doesn't translate to life and death engagements, explaining why he's already died 6 times. Not only that, but Beric was the lesser fighter in every respect. He's trained in the Stormlands, but seen very little real combat. The Hound is 4 to 5 years older than him, and a private bodyguard who trains every day, and Beric is much smaller than the 6'10" size of the Hound. The Hound asks Sansa to run away with him after fleeing the Battle of the Blackwater. When he finds her alone, she says, "Let me go, you're scaring me. Everything scares you. Look at me. Look at me." The blood masked the worst of his scars, but his eyes were white and wide and terrifying. The burnt corner of his mouth twitched and twitched again. Sansa could smell him, a stink of sweat and sour wine and stale vomit, and over it all, the reek of blood. "I could keep you safe," he rasped. "They're all afraid of me. No one would hurt you again, or I'd kill them." He yanked her closer, and for a moment she thought he meant to kiss her. He was too strong to fight. She closed her eyes, wanting it to be over. But nothing happened. "Still, can't bear to look, can you?" she heard him say. He gave her arm a hard wrench, pulling her around and shoving her down onto the bed. Kevin Lannister once delivered one of the coldest lines in A Song of Ice and Fire, and the show left it out entirely. In A Feast for Crows, reports come in from the Riverlands. Sandor Clegane, the Hound, is supposedly raiding and killing. Cersei jumps at the chance to use it politically, trying to twist the narrative in front of the court. She says, "Bring us Sandor's head, and I know his grace will be most grateful. Joffrey may have liked the man, but Tommen was always afraid of him. With good reason, it would seem." Kevin doesn't miss a beat. He replies, "When a dog goes bad, the fault lies with his master." Brutal. In one line, he calls out Cersei, Joffrey, and the whole rotten system they built. It's one of the quiet book moments that says everything. Jaime Lannister wasn't deluded enough to think he could beat the Hound, Sandor Clegane, with one hand. This was notably when he was asking who the Castellan at Harrenhal was. "Polliver," another man said. "Only the Hound killed him, my lord. Him and the Tickler both. And that Sarsfield boy." The Hound again. "You know it was Sandor? You saw him? When a dog goes mad, you cut his throat," Jaime continued. "Well," the man said, rubbing his mouth, "I never much liked Polly, that shit, and the dog. He were Sir's brother, so?" "We're bad, my lord," broke in the man who wore the coins. "But you need to be mad to face the Hound." "You were afraid of him?" "I wouldn't say afraid, my lord. I'd say we was leaving him for our betters. Someone like Sir, or you." Me, when I had 2 hands. Jaime did not delude himself. Sandor would make short work of him now. Even Jaime Lannister doubted the Hound, Sandor Clegane, did the atrocities he was reported to have been committing in the Riverlands. "You have not seen the things he did, sir," Sir Arwood said. "I have. When the reports reached the twins, I rode down with Harris Hay and his brother Donal, and 100 men, archers and men-at-arms. We thought it was Lord Beric's work, and hoped to find his trail. All that remains of Saltpans is the castle, and old Sir Quincy, so frightened he would not open his gates, but shouted down at us from his battlements. The rest is bones and ashes. A whole town. The Hound put the buildings to the torch and the people to the sword and rode off, laughing. The women, you would not believe what he did to some of the women. I will not speak of it at the table. It made me sick to see." Jaime sipped his wine. "What makes you certain it was the Hound?" What they were describing sounded more like Gregor's work than Sandor's. Sandor had been hard and brutal, yes, but it was his big brother who was the real monster in House Clegane. Gregor Clegane, or the Mountain, was 7 to 8 feet tall, or 2.5 meters. He weighs at least 30 stone, which is 420 pounds or 190 kilos. Now, why is he so evil? Well, the Mountain suffers from extreme headaches and consumes vast quantities of milk of the poppy to try and dull the pain. The causes of these headaches is unknown, but perhaps it is due to some condition of his giantism, or was the result of a blow to the head that never healed. This doesn't justify, but it does explain his terrifying rage when roused, and maybe explains why so many members of House Clegane died mysteriously. This being Sandor and Gregor's dad, their sister, Gregor's 3 wives all died without explanation, and this might explain why Gregor burned off half of Sandor's face if he caught him at a bad time. The most disgusting thing from the Game of Thrones books is when Arya overhears Chiswick telling one of his funny stories. That after the Hands Tourney, when Loras cheated to beat the Mountain, they stopped at an alehouse on the way back to the Westerlands. The brewer keeps talking while all the Mountain's men know to shut up when Gregor is in one of his moods. The brewer's 18-year-old daughter is fetching them all drinks. One of the Mountain's men tries to sleep with her, which causes a stir. The brewer confronts the Mountain about what one of his men did and says, "My lane is no whore, sir." However, Gregor doesn't blink and just says, "She is now," tosses the old man a silver, rips the dress off the wench, and takes her right there on the table in front of her dad. Each of the Mountain's men have a turn, and they're all laughing. However, the most disgusting thing is that the girl wasn't 18 like Chiswick claimed, she was 13. We learn of what the Mountain did to Elia Martell after he admits it during his trial by combat with Oberyn Martell. However, the show admits the true extent of the brutality and gore during the scene. As Tyrion told Oberyn, "I am not lying," Sir Armory dragged Princess Rhaenys out from under her father's bed and stabbed her to death. He had some men-at-arms with him, but I do not know their names. He leaned forward. It was Sir Gregor Clegane who smashed Prince Aegon's head against a wall, and your sister Elia with his blood and brains still on his hands. What is this now? Fruit from a Lannister? Oberyn smiled coldly. Your father gave the commands, yes? No. He spoke the lie without hesitation, and never stopped to ask himself why he should. The Dornishman raised one thin black eyebrow. Such a dutiful son, and such a very feeble lie. There are rumors that the Cleganes had a younger sister who died under mysterious circumstances. Although there aren't too many details, it is heavily implied that the Mountain, Sir Gregor Clegane, killed her. This might be why the Hound has some affection and a soft spot for both Arya and Sansa Stark, who he possibly sees his younger sister in them. The Mountain also killed 2 of his wives and possibly his father, which is why the Hound sought refuge with the Lannisters. The Mountain is a real-life strongman champion. Hafthor Bjornsson, best known as the Mountain on Game of Thrones, has shifted focus back to strongman competitions. He's aiming to defend his World's Strongest Man title after winning it in the Philippines in 2018. Filming Game of Thrones made training difficult. Some shoots lasted 18 hours, and his transformation for the Clegane fight took 7. "You have to be obsessed to win," he says. He now trains in his custom gym in Iceland, since most regular gyms lack the equipment needed for World's Strongest Man preparation. When fans talk about the greatest fights in Game of Thrones, they mention Oberyn vs. the Mountain, but the most underrated duel, Brienne of Tarth vs. Sandor Clegane, the Hound. It wasn't just steel on steel, it was personal. Brienne wanted to protect Arya. The Hound wanted to keep her with him. Both believed they were right. The fight itself was raw, brutal, no music, no flair. Just two warriors battling with everything they had. No one's in the wrong. And that's what makes it so compelling. You feel every swing. Brienne breaks the Hound's leg. He nearly kills her. But in the end, it's not about victory. Arya chooses neither. She walks away. The duel showed us that even the best fighters fight for flawed reasons. And sometimes there is no right side. Just two people doing what they think is right, the only way they know how. The actor who played the Mountain in Game of Thrones broke a 1,000-year-old Viking record in real life. In 2015, while fans knew Bjornsson as Sir Gregor Clegane, the 6'9" Icelandic strongman competed in World's Strongest Viking. His challenge: carry a 10-meter, 1,433-pound log on his back, nearly 650 kilograms, for as many steps as possible. According to Norse legend, no one had ever managed more than 3 steps before collapsing. He smashed the ancient record and triumphantly declared, "I am the king of the Vikings." This real-life feat mirrored his on-screen persona. The same man who crushed skulls on HBO was conquering impossible weights off-camera. He later went on to win World's Strongest Man in 2018, proving he wasn't just acting. He really was a mountain of a man. Cersei Lannister was ready to have Ilyn Payne tend to the Mountain and finish him off until Qyburn suggested experimenting with Sir Gregor Clegane. Gregor is a very large man. Also, a very stupid one. Too stupid to know when he should die, it seems. His screaming frightens Tommen. It has even been known to wake me of a night. I would say it is past time we summon Ilyn Payne. "Your Grace," said Qyburn, "mayhaps I might have Sir Gregor to the dungeons. His screams will not disturb you there, and I will be able to tend to him more freely." "Tend to him?" she laughed. "Let Sir Ilyn tend to him, if that is your Grace's wish," Qyburn said. "But this poison, it would be useful to know more about it, would it not? Send a knight to slay a knight, and an archer to kill an archer, the small folk often say. To combat the black arts." He did not finish the thought, but only smiled at her. He is not Pycelle, that much is plain. The Queen weighed him, wondering, why did the Citadel take your chain? Cersei Lannister may have indirectly saved Pierre's life from the hands of the Mountain Gregor Clegane. "Take the as well," Sir Bonifer urged. "You know the one, the girl from the dungeons." Pierre. The last time Jaime had been here, Qyburn had sent the girl to his bed, thinking that would please him. But the Pierre they had brought up from the dungeon was a different creature from the sweet, simple, giggly creature who'd crawled beneath his blankets. She had made the same mistake of speaking when Sir Gregor wanted quiet. So the Mountain had squashed her teeth to splinters with a mailed fist and broken her pretty little nose as well. He would have done worse, no doubt, if Cersei had not called him down to King's Landing to face the Red Viper's spear. Jaime would not mourn him. Jaime Lannister had Ilyn Payne behead one of the Mountain's men for trying to Pierre at Harrenhal. One of the Mountain's men had tried to the girl at Harrenhal and had seemed honestly perplexed when Jaime commanded Ilyn Payne to take his head off. "I had her 100 times before," he kept saying as they forced him to his knees. 100 times, my lord. We all had her." When Sir Ilyn presented Pierre with his head, she had smiled through her ruined teeth. Tywin actually wouldn't give up the Mountain to the Dornish despite knowing what he did. Tyrion says, "Very well, as you ask so pleasantly, the Red Viper is not going to be pleasant, I fear, nor will he content himself with Sir Gregor's head alone. all the more reason not to give it to him. Tyrion was shocked. I thought we were agreed that the woods were full of beasts. Lesser beasts. Lord Tywin's fingers laced together under his chin. So Gregor has served us well. No other knight in the realm inspires such terror in our enemies. Oberyn knows that Gregor was the one who, he knows nothing. He has heard tales, stable gossip, and kitchen calumnies. He has no crumb of proof. So Gregor is certainly not about to confess to him. I mean to keep him well away for as long as the Dornishmen are in King's Landing. And when Oberyn demands the justice he's come for, I will tell him that Sir Armory Lodge killed Elia and her children, Lord Tywin said calmly. So will you, if he asks. We found out why the Mountain killed Elia along with her children when he really didn't need to kill her specifically. Tyrion asks, then why did the Mountain kill her? Because I did not tell him to spare her. I doubt I mentioned her at all. I had more pressing concerns. Ned Stark's van was rushing south from the Trident, and I feared it might come to swords between us. And it was in Aerys to murder Jaime with no more cause than spite. That was the thing I feared most. That and what Jaime himself might do. He closed a fist. Nor did I yet grasp what I had in Gregor Clegane. Only that he was huge and terrible in battle. Even you would not accuse me of giving that command, I would hope. So Amory was almost as bestital with Rhaerys. I asked him afterwards why it had required 100 thrusts to kill a girl of 2, 3. He said she'd kicked him and would not stop screaming. If Lorch had half the wits the gods gave a turnip, he would have calmed her with a few sweet words and used a soft silk pillow. His mouth twisted in distaste. The blood was in him, but not in you, father. There is no blood in Tywin Lannister.
Qyburn is far more sinister than his show portrayal. While he appears as a calm, somewhat eccentric maester on screen, he's a ruthless torturer in the books. Take, for example, when he is given Khaleesi Stokeworth by Cersei. Later on, he informs Cersei, I fear Lady Khaleesi is no longer capable of ruling Stokeworth, or indeed of feeding herself. Qyburn was performing a vivisection on her, and it doesn't get any better for her. She ends up dying while screaming in the black cells due to Qyburn. Ross is not a character in the books. In fact, she's the first character specifically created for the show. She mostly fills a similar role to a prostitute named Alalea in the books. Originally from the Summer Isles, Alalea is actually used as a cover by Tyrion for his visits to Shae. Cersei threatens to have her harmed to pressure Tyrion, much like Ross was harmed in the show. Moreover, in the books, Oberyn goes on to bed Alalea when he visits King's Landing. While Edmure Tully ended up becoming Lord of Riverrun again in the show, in the books, he is currently on his way to Castle Rock as a captive of Jaime Lannister. After helping Jaime with the siege of Riverrun, Edmure is now set to be imprisoned for the foreseeable future. As Jaime notes, his wife will remain at the Twins until their child is born. Then she and the babe will join him, so long as he does not attempt to escape or plot rebellion. Edmure will live a long life. There's an interesting detail regarding Qyburn and Dorne. As we all know, Oberyn Martell wanted revenge against Tywin, the Mountain, and Sir Armory Lorch. Qyburn handles the bodies of the first two, and is present at Armory's death in Harrenhal, at the hands of the Brave Company. He happens to be the only one with some connection to all three men's deaths and bodies, which is a massive coincidence. Was he connected to Oberyn and Dorne, and is this all a part of the Dornish master plan? Who was the Knight of the Laughing Tree? The Knight of the Laughing Tree was a mystery knight who fought in the tourney at Harrenhal, who ended up defeating 3 knights whose squires were bullying Howland Reed. The Mad King wanted him unmasked only for the knight to disappear the next day. So, who was the knight? Many suspect it was Lyanna Stark defending Howland Reed's honor, who was bullied by some knights as squires. The Mystery Knight was also below average height, and Mira Reed was surprised Bran never heard of the story, which could imply it was a Stark.
House Dane is one of the most mysterious and intriguing houses in Westeros. Their ancestral weapon is Dawn, forged from the heart of a fallen star, which many believe to be Azor Ahai's Lightbringer. However, no member of House Dane is allowed to just take the sword. Instead, they have to earn it. Otherwise, it remains unused despite being one of the most fabulous blades in the entire world. In addition, we don't have any knowledge of their house words. Interestingly, most members of House Dane also have either dark blue or purple eyes similar to Valyrians, but are older than Valyrians. One of their ancient kings, called Samwell Dane, and known as the Starfire, once burned Old Town, who are probably the other most mysterious house in Westeros. These two houses also have Valyrian features. Were the Freys actually baked into pies in the book? There's a theory that Wyman Manderly killed 3 Freys who ended up disappearing on the way from White Harbour to Barristan. He then baked them into 3 huge pork pies for Ramsay Bolton's wedding with a fake Arya. Wyman eats the pies himself, tells Abel to sing about the infamous rat cook, and even laughs when confronted by Hostine Frey when he is told he'll be served all the bloody bits you can stomach. In a Bran chapter in A Game of Thrones, it's mentioned how Theon Greyjoy had once commented that Hodor did not know much, but no one could doubt he knew his name. As we learn in the show, Hodor is not his real name. In fact, his real name is Walder in the books and Willis in the show. What's more is that ironically, it's Theon who ends up forgetting his own name as he now believes he is Reek. There is potential Frey civil war in the works. This is mainly due to Black Walder, who is arguably the best warrior House Frey has, but he is also the most disliked within his family, especially as he is known to sleep around with other Frey wives. In fact, some believe he played a part in his father, Rymon's death, as it puts him closer to being the heir of the twins. Black Walder's brother, Edwin, even fears he's next. "My brother had a hand in this, I'll wager. He allowed the outlaws to escape after they murdered Merritt and Peter, and this is why. With our father dead, there's only me left between Black Walder and the twins." This could lead to a plot where certain Freys go after Black Walder and we have Freys killing each other. It would also be a symbolic representation between the Freys and the Rat Cook, rats devouring their own. Where is Greatjon Umber? If you remember in the show, Greatjon was the one who threatened Robb Stark only to have Grey Wind take a bite out of him. All that said, he is one of the more loyal Northerners, and while he dies off-screen in the show, he's actually alive in the books. Greatjon was present during the Red Wedding with some Freys tasked with getting him too drunk to fight. As the Red Wedding takes place, a drunk Greatjon still manages to kill 3 and is only subdued in chains thanks to the help of 8. As things stand in the books, he is still a prisoner at the Twins. Interestingly, half of the remaining Umbers plead fealty to Roose Bolton, likely to keep him alive, while the other half have taken up the cause of Stannis Baratheon to ensure they are on the winning side. Jean may have been friends with the prisoners that Lord Rickard Karstark murdered. Robb's captains and Lords Bannermen stood about the hole, some mailed and armed, others in various states of dishevelment and undress. Sir Reynold and his uncle Sir Rolf were among them, but Robb had seen fit to spare his queen this ugliness. The crag is not far from Castle Rock, Catelyn recalled. Jean may well have played with these boys when all of them were children. She looked down again upon the corpses of the squires, Tion Frey and Willem Lannister, and waited for her son to speak. It seemed a very long time before Robb lifted his eyes from the bloody dead. "Small John," he said, "tell your father to bring them in." As the Greatjon marched his prisoners through the doors, Catelyn made note of how some other men stepped back to give them room, as if treason could somehow be passed by a touch, a glance, a cough. Lord Rickard Karstark sees no problem killing children as retribution.
Any man who steps between a father and his vengeance asks for death. His words rang against Catelyn's ears, harsh and cruel as the pounding of a war drum. Her throat was dry as bone. I did this. These 2 boys died so my daughters might live. I saw your sons die. That night in the Whispering Wood, Robb told Lord Karstark. Tion Frey did not kill Torrhen. Willem Lannister did not slay Eddard. How then can you call this vengeance? This was folly and bloody murder. Your sons died honorably on a battlefield, with swords in their hands. They died, said Rickard Karstark, yielding no inch of ground. The Kingslayer cut them down. These 2 were of his ilk. Only blood can pay for blood. The blood of children, Robb pointed out at the corpses. How old were they? 12? 13? Squires. Squires die in every battle. Die fighting, yes. Tion Frey and William Lannister gave up their swords in the Whispering Wood. They were captives locked in a cell, asleep. Unarmed. Boys. Look at them. Lord Rickard Karstark used 8 men to get to the prisoners he murdered. The captors and the captives looked much alike. Big men, every one, with thick beards and long hair. Only the fact that some had spears and others empty scabbards served to set them apart. 5, said Robb, when the prisoners stood before him, wet and silent. Is that all of them? There were 8, rumbled the Greatjon. We killed 2 taking them, and a 3rd is dying now. Robb studied the faces of the captives. It required 8 of you to kill 2 unarmed squires. Edmure Tully spoke up. They murdered 2 of my men as well, to get into the tower, Delp and Elwood. It was no murder, sir, said Lord Rickard Karstark, no more discomfited by the ropes about his wrists than by the blood that trickled down his face. Any man who steps between a father and his vengeance asks for death. Karstark promised his daughter to any man who gives him Jaime Lannister's head. The Karstarks are gone. All? Was it anger or despair that thickened Robb's voice? All the fighting men, Brandon replied. A few camp followers were left with their wounded. They started leaving at nightfall, stealing off in 1s and 2s at first, and then in larger groups. The wounded men and servants were told to keep the campfires lit so no one would know they'd gone. But once the rains began, it didn't matter. Will they reform away from Riverrun? Asked Robb. No, they've scattered hunting. Karstark has sworn to give the hand of his maiden daughter to any man, highborn or low, who brings him the head of the Kingslayer. Catelyn felt ill again. Near 300 riders and twice as many mounts melted away in the night. Robb rubbed his temples. All the mounted strength of Karhold lost. Lost by me. By me. May the gods forgive me. One of Game of Thrones' most heartbreaking deaths also sparked a major conversation about diversity. In Season 8, Episode 4, Missandei, Daenerys' closest advisor and the only prominent woman of color on the show, is captured and executed by Cersei on the walls of King's Landing. The scene was meant to push Daenerys and Grey Worm toward vengeance, but fans immediately criticized it. Many argued Missandei was frigid, killed solely to motivate other characters, and noted how a brutal death in chains highlighted the show's long-running lack of representation. Commentators called it emblematic of Thrones' racial blind spot, since most characters of color were minor or met grim ends. Actress Nathalie Emmanuel acknowledged the heartbreak, but appreciated the wider conversation it inspired. Missandei's death remains one of the finale's most diverse moments, and likely influenced the more diverse casting in later spin-offs like House of the Dragon. One of Game of Thrones' most shocking deviations from the books was the sudden death of Sir Barristan Selmy. In Season 5, Daenerys' legendary Kingsguard is abruptly killed in an alley fight with the Sons of the Harpy, a moment that stunned both book readers and show-only fans. In George R.R. Martin's novels, Barristan is still alive and playing a pivotal role in Meereen, so his early death felt like a sharp departure. Even actor Ian McKinney admitted he was miffed, revealing he hadn't been warned and assumed he'd survive into the next season. The writers said the change was to raise the stakes, but many fans mourned the loss of one of the few remaining noble older heroes of the show. Barristan's sudden exit added to the perception that Thrones was streamlining,
and sometimes rushing major storylines. The Game of Thrones show actually changed the character so much that George R.R. Martin decided to rewrite her in the books. Osha the Wildling, played by Natalia Tena, is witty, sharp, and full of sarcastic energy on screen. But in the books, she's older, taller than Robb Stark, with a dour face and shaggy brown hair, described as hardly looking like a woman. Still, George loved Tina's performance so much, he said it would influence how Osha appears in future novels. That's incredibly rare for him. And remember that scene where Osha seduces Theon? Yeah, that's not in the books. Instead, she tricks him by pretending to serve him as a fighter, swearing loyalty just to earn freedom of movement. While Theon was busy bedding Kyra, a different girl entirely, Osha used the opportunity to help Bran and Rickon escape. Same results, very different path. The Game of Thrones show completely cut out one of the biggest wildcards in the entire saga. While Tyrion's journey in the show is all about reaching Daenerys and playing political chess in Meereen, the books take a shocking turn by introducing young Griff. He claims to be Aegon Targaryen, Rhaegar's son, who supposedly died as a baby during Robert's rebellion. But surprise, he's alive, raised in secret by Jon Conington and groomed to take back the Iron Throne. His existence throws everything into chaos. Suddenly, Daenerys isn't the only dragon in the race. The real twist, we don't even know if he's truly a Targaryen, or just a very convincing pawn in Varys and Illyroy's long game. Cutting him from the show may have simplified things, but it erased one of the saga's most mind-bending what-if scenarios. The mysterious Cold Hands in Game of Thrones is way creepier and way more mysterious in the books. In the show, Cold Hands is just Benjen Stark, half dead, stuck between life and death, riding in to save Bran and later Jon like an undead Uber driver. It's convenient, but kind of underwhelming. In the books, Cold Hand is not Benjen. He's an ancient, rotting figure who rides a giant elk, controls ravens, and can't even pass through the wall. He speaks like a man, but something about him feels off. Bran and the Reeds wonder, was he once a Night's Watchman, or something far older? His presence is eerie because we don't know what he is. That mystery makes him powerful, a ghost of the North, a hint at how little we truly understand about death, magic, and the Wall. By giving him a name, the show took away the fear. Game of Thrones cut a major character whose story is pure tragedy and political weight. Jon Conington, the Kingmaker. Once Hand of the King and Lord of Griffin's Roost, Conington was a proud and ambitious man, loyal to Rhaegar Targaryen above all else. But that loyalty cost him everything: his title, his honor, and the lands of his ancestors. Banished in disgrace after failing to stop Robert Baratheon, Conington lived in exile, haunted by what could have been. Years later, he returns, carrying a deadly secret and backing a boy who might be Aegon VI Targaryen, Rhaegar's surviving son. He says, "I rose too high, loved too hard, dared too much. I tried to grasp a star, overreached, and fell." Jon Conington isn't remembered for his power, but for how bitterly he lost it. And that's what makes him unforgettable. There was a young girl from House Manderly who stood up for the Starks against the Freys and Lannisters by saying, "They killed Lord Eddard and Lady Catelyn and King Robb," she said. "He was our king. He was brave and good, and the Freys murdered him. If Lord Stannis will avenge him, we should join Lord Stannis." Manderly pulled her close. "Wyler, you make me want to send you to the Silent Sisters." Her mother says, "A child's foolishness. Speak no ill of our friends of Frey. One of them will be your lord and husband soon." "No," the girl declared, shaking her head. I won't ever. They killed the king." Lord Wyman flushed. "You will, else you will join the Silent Sisters and never speak again." The poor girl looked stricken. "Grandfather, please." "Hush, child," said Lady Leona. "You heard your lord grandfather. Hush, you know nothing." "I know about the promise," insisted the girl. "Maester Theomore, tell them. 1,000 years before the conquest, a promise was made, and oaths were sworn in the wolf's den before the old gods and the new. When we were sore, beset and friendless, hounded from our homes and in peril of our lives, the wolves took us in, and nourished us and protected us against our enemies. The city is built upon the land they gave us. In return, we swore that we should always be their men. Stark men." The maester fingered the chain about his neck. "Solemn oaths were sworn to the Starks of Winterfell, aye, but Winterfell has fallen, and House Stark has been extinguished." "That's because they killed them all." Barristan was the counselor Daenerys trusted most. She asked him, "Hizdahr is not the husband you would have chosen for me." "It is not my place to choose your husband." "It is not," she agreed. "But it is important to me that you should understand. My people are bleeding, dying. A queen belongs not to herself, but to the realm. Marriage or carnage, those are my choices. A wedding or a war." "Your Grace, may I speak frankly?" "Always." "There is a third choice. Westeros." He nodded. "I am sworn to serve your Grace and keep you safe from harm wherever you may go. But your place is back in Westeros, upon the Iron Throne that was your father's. The Seven Kingdoms will never accept Hizdahr zo Llarec as king, no more than Meereen will accept Daenerys Targaryen as queen. In Westeros, your people will cheer when you ride by, and all good men will love you. Westeros is far away. Lingering here will never bring it any closer. The sooner we take our leave of this place, I know." Dany did not know how to make him see. She wanted Westeros as much as he did, but first she must heal Meereen. 90 days is a long time. Hizdahr may fail, and if he does, the trying buys me time. Time to make alliances, to strengthen my defenses, to... And what if he does not fail? What will your Grace do then? Her duty. The word felt cold upon her tongue. "You saw my brother Rhaegar wed. Tell me, did he wed for love or duty?" The old knight hesitated. "Princess Elia was a good woman, your Grace. She was kind and clever, with a gentle heart and a sweet wit. I know the prince was very fond of her." Fond, thought Dany. The word spoke volumes. I could become fond of Hizdahr zo Llarec, in time, perhaps? Sir Barristan went on. "I saw your father and your mother wed as well. Forgive me, but there was no fondness there, and the realm paid dearly for that, my queen." "Why did they wed if they did not love each other?" "Your grandsire commanded it. A woods witch had told him that the prince was promised would be born of their line." "A woods witch?" Dany was astonished. She came to court with Jenny of Oldstones. A stunted thing, grotesque to look upon. A dwarf, most people said, though dear to Lady Jenny, who always claimed that she was one of the children of the forest. What became of her? Summerhall. The word was fraught with doom. Dany sighed. "Leave me now. I am very weary." Wyman Manderly is the Littlefinger of the North. Even before the Red Wedding, Manderly was positioning himself to be the master of coin for King Robb Stark by proposing that White Harbor become the official mint for the North. This would have given him control over the kingdom's currency and treasury. Next, Wyman offered to build a massive fleet for Robb. Since White Harbor is the North's only major port, this would have made Manderly the de facto Admiral of the North, controlling all maritime defense and trade. Moreover, Manderly attempted to absorb the Hornwoods lands which sit between his territories and the Boltons by proposing that he marry the widow Danella Hornwood himself, or to his son Wendell. However, Ramsay Snow forcibly married her instead. Manderly then seized Hornwood's castle under the guise of protection, showing his willingness to use military force to secure land. Finally, Wyman Manderly's quest to find Rickon Stark is the centerpiece of his current ambitions, since he who holds the king holds the kingdom. By bringing back the youngest Stark son, Manderly intends to become Rickon's Lord Regent, since a 5-year-old Rickon is impressionable and easy to manipulate. By raising and protecting the boy in White Harbor, Manderly would effectively rule the North in Rickon's name for the next decade. Lastly, Wyman would probably secure a betrothal between his granddaughter Wyla and the future Lord of Winterfell, Rickon, which would eventually put Manderly blood on the throne of the North. Now, the Manderly's loyalty is rooted in a 1,000-year-old debt to the Starks, who took the Manderlys in when they were exiled from the Reach. But he sees repaying the debt and gaining power as two goals that go hand in hand. Shay's trial confession was so much worse. She told them, the imp and Lady Sansa plotted it after the young wolf died. Sansa wanted revenge for her brother, and Tyrion meant to have the throne. He was going to kill his sister next, and then his own Lord Father, so he could be hand for Prince Tommen. But after a year or so, before Tommen got too old, he would have killed him too, so as to take the crown for his own head. How could you know all this? Demanded Prince Oberyn. Why would the imp divulge such plans to his wife's maid? I overheard some, my lord, said Shay, and my lady let things slip too, but most I had from his own lips. I wasn't only Lady Sansa's maid, I was his all the time he was here in King's Landing. On the morning of the wedding, he dragged me down where they keep the dragon skulls and had me there with the monsters all around. And when I cried, he said I ought to be more grateful, that it wasn't every girl who got to be the king's. That was when he told me how he meant to be king. He made me do such shameful things. Prince Oberyn looked curious. What sorts of things? Unspeakable things. As the tears rolled slowly down that pretty face, no doubt every man in the hall wanted to take Shay in his arms and comfort her. With my mouth and other parts, my lord. All my parts. He used me every way there was, and he used to make me tell him how big he was. My giant, I had to call him. My giant of Lannister. Oswald Kettleblack was the first to laugh. Boris and Meryn joined in, then Cersei, Sir Loras and more lords and ladies than he could count. The sudden gale of mirth made the rafters ring and shook the Iron Throne. It's true, Shay protested. My giant of Lannister. The laughter swelled twice as loud. Their mouths were twisted in merriment, their bellies shook. Some laughed so hard that snot flew from their nostrils. I saved you all, Tyrion thought. I saved this vile city and all your worthless lives. There were hundreds in the throne room, every one of them laughing. But his father, Harren the Black, had driven thousands to their deaths in the building of his great castle of Harrenhal, plundering the riverlands for materials and beggaring lords and small folk alike with his appetite for gold. So now the riverlands rose against him, led by Lord Edmund Tully of Riverrun. Summoned to the defense of Harrenhal, Tully declared for House Targaryen instead, raised the dragon banner over his castle, and rode forth with his knights and archers to join the strength to Aegon's. His defiance gave heart to other river lords. One by one, the lords of the Trident renounced Harren and declared for Aegon the Dragon. Blackwoods, Mallisters, Vances, Brackens, Pipers, Freys, Strongs. Summoning their levies, they descended on Harrenhal. Suddenly outnumbered, King Harren the Black took refuge in his supposedly impregnable stronghold, the largest castle ever raised in Westeros. Harrenhal boasted 5 gargantuan towers, an inexhaustible source of fresh water, huge subterranean vaults well stocked with provisions, and massive walls of black stone higher than any ladder and too thick to be broken by any ram or shattered by a trebuchet. Harren barred his gates and settled down with his remaining sons and supporters to withstand a siege. Aegon of Dragonstone was of a different mind. Once he had joined his power with that Edmund Tully and the other river lords to ring the castle, he sent a maester to the gates under a peace banner to parley. Harren emerged to meet him, an old man and grey, yet still fierce in his black armor. Each king had his banner bearer and his maester in attendance, so the words that they exchanged are still remembered. Yield now, Aegon began, and you may remain as Lord of the Iron Islands. Yield now, and your sons will rule to live after you. I have 8,000 men outside your walls. What is outside my walls is of no concern to me, said Harren. Those walls are strong and thick, but not so high to keep out dragons. Dragons fly. I built in stone, said Harren. Stone does not burn. To which Aegon said, when the sun sets, your line shall end. Anyway, subscribe for more.